We are now continuing on page 30 still of your working file. Continuing on, and we are going to finish off our business card project. How did you end up with your amplifier? Did you get it close to looking correct? I hope so. Even if you didn't, don't be too bothered. What you will learn through the process is invaluable. Well, you should have a copy of your business card, where we were up to. If you go back to page 28, so copy that to the clipboard, then place it back down. I am just going to zoom into this section of the card, and then we can finish off. Well, what I want to do first of all, now by the way, let me quickly remind you, I am working in millimeters. You can alternate between millimeters and inches if that's what you want to do throughout the project, so you are staying within your world of measurement. So for example, right now I want to click and drag, create a rectangle, and I want it to be 30. Write that down. 30 mm wide by 4.5 mm high, and I'll fill that with that purple color we have been using. I don't want a black outline, so right-click on the No Color mode. Okay, now with everything deselected, if you want, you can go back to inches. Select the object, and you can see that same value in inches if you feel you need to do that. However, I think working in millimeters is just as easy right now. Okay, there is my object. I'd need to take it back behind my texts. So right-click, come down to Order, and we are going to go behind. Click on my text. That pops up behind, which is great. I am going to pull down a guideline and just line it up with the top there, as you can see, of my spiral, and that's what I want this to line up with. So I will pop that away. That will lock back in, and don't forget to have a Snap to Guidelines turned on for this, okay? Well, now I am going to create a duplicate, and plus on my keyboard, and I want my duplicate to be 1.5 mm wide. Make sure the little lock is off, because we only want to adjust the horizontal, not the vertical as well. So 1.5 mm. Hit Enter. Now using the arrow key on my keyboard and nothing else, I am just going to allow that to step all the way across, and that's an unusual way of doing it, and you will see why in a minute. Okay. Now if I deselect that, I want you to notice on my property bar, I have got a nudge distance of 0.1 of a millimeter. Now if you don't, please type in 0.1 of the millimeter, and we are working in millimeters, don't forget. Well, now that I have created a duplicate, it's perfectly horizontally aligned, and it's 1.5 millimeter wide. I am just going to use my arrow keys and go back until I can just see a sliver of white. See how I can just see a sliver of white? Even if it was a bit more, it doesn't matter. That's my starting point. Now, so what I am going to do is use my arrow keys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Now I am going to create a duplicate, so plus on my keyboard, and I am going to reduce that to 1.4. So I have gone down by 0.1 of a millimeter. Hit Enter. Again use my arrow key, come back until I can just see a sliver of white. I can just see my sliver of white there. Now I am going to go 7 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's think about what we have done. We have created a duplicate of this one here. We have stepped at 7 presses of my left arrow key, which means it's now further than the first one is from there. So I have got a larger wide gap, and I have reduced the width by 0.1. Now, when I use Control D, it will reproduce that, getting smaller and further apart. Can you see that? So this sliver is getting smaller. They have spaced further apart, which is exactly what we learned, and that's the effect that I was looking for. Doesn't that look cool? Now I want to make sure my text is horizontally centered, so A on my keyboard, and that's looking pretty good. I will select all that, finger on Shift, and deselect the text. Now I am going to create a duplicate and bring it down the bottom. So right-click. In fact, you know what? We really should have a guideline to do this, but we shouldn't be. So just drag this guideline down in here. Line it up there. We will do that again. Finger on Shift, deselect the text, Now I am going to left click and drag. Now I can move it anywhere. Finger on Control, of course, constraints to vertical, perfectly, vertical movement to the guideline, and snaps, right-click my mouse to create a duplicate and release. Now finger on Control and page down, and that, since it sent it down in the stacking order every time I hit page down, so Control page down. Finally, I just need to horizontally center that, so A on my keyboard, and of course it's all to the left a little bit, isn't it? So let's select that. Finger on Shift, and that one. Sorry, that one. And up there, let's right-click. So make sure everything is right aligned. And then I am just going to use my arrow keys, but I roughly think center that so that my web address looks like it's roughly in the center there. Or, of course, you could do this. Select, go to A and C, then select all of the other text, finger on Shift, selecting this one last makes it the object we are going to align to, and then hit R on my keyboard and everything aligns. Now that's a good bit of graphical design training right there. We don't have a top piece of text centered in the block, but we have the largest pieces of text centered. So in my web address being longer is perfectly centered in the box, and then I have right aligned everything to that, and it, just by nature, looks correct, doesn't it? I might even now move this up a little bit, because I think it is looking a little congested. Now maybe move that a little. That looks pretty cool. There we go, we are done. Well, once you have finished your business card project, we are ready to move on to our next lesson and learn some new, really cool stuff.